I'm Lisa Bowleg. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a professor of applied social psychology and actually am trained as a social psychologist in the same department I work in now. I've had quite a break. I also am the founder and president of the Intersectionality Training Institute, and prior to that, have been doing a lot of work primarily in the area of HIV prevention and primarily around Black men and HIV prevention, also using a structural lens. And my trajectory, like I presume you're going to hear from many people on this panel, has been certainly nonlinear. I was a psychology major as an undergraduate, and there I took my first women's studies course, which just sort of changed everything for me in terms of learning how to think critically about structure and power and inequality. And with this wonderful mentor of mine called Margaret Stetz. And Margaret Stetz has been so pivotal to my professional journey as an undergraduate because Margaret Stetz is a white woman with expertise in sort of like Victorian England. She's like an Oscar Wilde scholar, for example, and very far removed from social behavioral science. But she wanted to know if I was familiar with the writings of Black feminists. And I said, well, not really. And she's like, okay, come. We have to do an independent tutorial. And it was through her that I met Audre Lorde. Actually, literally because of her, I met Audre Lorde. But Audre Lorde and all of these, the Combahee River Collective and this bridge called My Back and Chicana Feminist and just amazing lesbian feminists of color and straight feminists of color doing really wonderful work. And so that pretty much followed everything that would happen next. And after undergrad, I took a job as an HIV policy analyst. And this was in the late 80s, so say 7 years into the HIV epidemic. And that was really pivotal because I got to see how state legislation was really sort of positioning mostly women of color as sort of incubators, pollutants, very concerned about sex workers, but not people abusing sex workers. And so I started to sort of integrate an intersectional lens into my work. And I went to graduate school I worked full time doing HIV policy work as I was a graduate student. And so then I was doing a lot of policy work and doing feminist policy work with an organization called the Center for Women Policy Studies. Again, very much bringing a critical intersectional lens to my work. And then started my doctoral work in applied social psychology. And one of the things that was so frustrating about psychology and remains frustrating is that the individual is the primary level of analysis. And so everything, as like Dr. Odom said, everything is pretty much viewed through that lens, individuals' behaviors, their beliefs, their cognition, all of that stuff, with very little attention to structure. And so what I started to do was then to really examine through when I started getting it funded to do NIH funded research, really bringing structure and finding and examining factors beyond the level of the individual that shape HIV risk for Black men primarily. And so now I'm finding myself pretty much and so I've done that for 18 years, and then maybe we'll get into my terminated grant. That was a mess. But I'm sort of transitioning. I'm sort of now at the end of my career and looking to retire at the end of this year. And so my focus has really been and my love is the Intersectionality Training Institute and very much training the next generation of researchers to integrate intersectionality and more critical approaches into their health equity work.